Hello and welcome to Enchantment of Eternities, a live discussion on Star Trek Lower Decks Season 5. I'm Provisional First Officer Mark, joined by other Provisional First Officer Alyssa. We're going to be competing for the same job. See who's going to be the new first officer, even though we're both just lieutenant junior grades. But, but anyway, Alyssa, thanks so much for joining.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's good to be here talking about the final season of Lower Decks.
Yes, very sad. I guess we'll start with overall thoughts on season 5 of Lower Decks. Very sad it's over, but and I was just recording my overall review for the season. I said that in that is that I do kind of wonder though. Not that I think the season was bad, because I don't think it was bad, but I do wonder if this was a sign that the show was going to start declining, and that maybe it's good that it ends on a high note. That because I do think this season did not quite stack up to previous seasons, 3 and 4. It's been a long time since I've seen 2. I'd have to rewatch it to make that determination. Definitely not 1. I mean, it's definitely better than 1. Yeah, I do. I did kind of think that, sad as it is that the show is ending, maybe I could be happy that it actually at least ends on a high note. I do kind of wish that fucking Paramount told them before they started writing the season that it would have been a final season. I mean, that probably would have helped. But yeah, overall the season was very consistently good. It was, but not great. It was like consistent. I think towards the end we got a couple great episodes. Episode 7, 9, 10 were the standouts for me. But I think it didn't have any episodes that suck, which is great. But I just don't think it really set itself up as like every week I turn in, I see an episode like, oh yeah, this is decent, but but nothing really wowed me. I don't know. What are your thoughts on it, Alyssa?
Yeah, very similar. And I actually had the same thought after the first half of the season that, well, maybe it's good that it's ending because it's just kind of going downhill, and maybe it's just going to go downhill from here. But then in the second half of the season, I'm like, I don't know if that's true. I don't. And they clearly had more story to tell. They had more to say about these characters and about the plot. And at the end of the season, I was like, maybe it wouldn't go downhill, actually. I only thought that after the first half of the very, very mediocre first half of the season. And then the second half picked up the pace a little bit. Same episodes that you cited, 7, 9, and 10 were my favorites. And I definitely think that those were all better than anything in the first half of the season. And so I think my big complaint, and and anyone who watched my review will already know this. My big complaint is that they didn't service their characters well enough. And I said before, well, they didn't know it was going to be the final season. But you know what? I think it would suck even if it wasn't the final season that they like completely ignored Rutherford until the end and have the storyline come out of complete nowhere. That they had 2 consecutive episodes in a row that did not have any of our actual main characters in it. Following just versions of our main characters in one case, but like not our main characters in it. The ones that we have been following from episode 1, season 1. There were none of them in it. And I think that even if this wasn't the final season, I don't think that's a good idea. But the fact that it ended up being the final season just really makes it sting a lot more. It just makes me feel a little empty inside that. And yeah, and just an overdose on Mariner. In the first 6 episodes, and I count, like, you could say episode 4 was kind of the Klingons, but of our lower deckers who are involved, it was most a Mariner episode. So of the first 6, the only one that wasn't an A plot Mariner episode was the episode 2. I think Tindy could be considered the A plot on that one, the Orion stuff. But all the like 5 of the first 6 was Mariner was the star of the show, and Boimler is just comic relief, and a couple of those episodes I thought not very good comic relief. So I've been kind of Boimler. I thought was kind of neglected in season 4 as well. I think they did a better job with him in season 5, but they could have done even more and not focus on Mariner so much. Tindy got a nice little episode in episode 7, but T'Lyn once again criminally underused, and Rutherford is reverted to season 1 and 2 Rutherford, where they just ignore him, and he's just kind of, I mean, even worse than I would almost say than season 1 and 2, because at least he had like side plots with Tindy. Like he's hardly in this season. It felt like to me, until then. All of a sudden, we're going to introduce this brand new plot at the end, at the very end. That across the board, every review I watched was like, "Where is this coming from?" Like that, everybody seemed to feel that way. So I just feel like they could have done a better job servicing the characters, even not knowing it was the final season. They should have done that. But the fact that it did end up being the final season just like makes it worse. So. Yeah, I know you said we were going to talk about how this stacks up against other seasons at the end, but yeah, I think the second half of the season saved it a little bit, but it still doesn't stack up to the last couple seasons, I would say.
Yeah. So I agree that what they did with Rutherford's character, like that would suck regardless of whether or not this was the final season or not. Like it needs to, like, I could see if there was a season 6 coming and we're here talking about season 5, like they really shortchanged Rutherford. That sucked. Like we'd still and that would still be an issue. But with the 2 episodes leading up to the finale, like I don't know if I'd mind that as much. I don't think I'd have a problem with that if it wasn't the final season.
I wouldn't mind it as much, but I still don't think it would be a great thing. Like, but it wouldn't be like, it definitely wouldn't bother me as much as this is the final season. But I also, especially because they focused so little on Rutherford. And I said in my review, like they should have, like, for as much as I did enjoy Upper Decks, it should have been a Rutherford episode instead of that, because they have not. So yeah, it wouldn't have bothered me as much, but I still would have been like, where are our characters? Where are Rutherford? And it still would have bothered me a little, but not as much as it did.
Well, what do you think? Because one of my suggestions, I don't know what if you think this would have made any difference, but if they swapped episode 7 and 8, and so that episode, so we didn't get 2 in a row without a main character, so at least it would break them up.
I don't know. I think I would say 2 out of the last 4 episodes. Like, I think there shouldn't have been 2. I think there shouldn't have been 2, period. I thought about that. Initially, I thought, well, they could have like had it earlier in the season or something, and it would have been better. Which maybe could be true if they had like episode 3 or something, maybe. But the fact that, like, yeah, even if it was 2 out of the last 4, I would have been like, what are they doing? So I don't know.
Well, I guess I'm kind of jumping the gun a bit, but we're on the topic. But of the episode Upper Decks, like, I do think that episode was unnecessary. Like, I feel like when I was reviewing it just now in my overall review, I was thinking, like, this seems like a season 2 episode or a season 3 episode. Like, it seems like by the time we get to season 5, we don't really need an episode focusing on the senior officers, because they've already had like a lot of play throughout the show.
Season 2 would have been actually a good spot for it, I think.
Yeah.
Even season 3 would have been like, even that would have been too late, I think. Yeah.
Oh, really? I still think it would have been better than this. But and so yeah, I do kind of, and I don't think it's a bad episode. Like, there's definitely funny moments in it. It's just like, was it like necessary? Do we need to have this? Like, even if they didn't know it was going to be the final season, it still seems unnecessary.
Yeah, I mean, I got some enjoyment out of that episode, but I would sacrifice whatever enjoyment I experienced for that episode to get a Rutherford episode.
You know what? Like, so sorry, dissecting this episode, but I'm getting into it. The I think we pretty much agree that the ransom storyline in the episode was shit. Like, it was stupid.
Yeah,
Um, and the Freeman storyline was like, okay,
yeah,
whatever. But what we really like is the Billups and the Tahana. They could have done a Rutherford episode and had the Billups and Tahana thing be like the B plots or whatever. Just
yeah,
have that going on and focus on Rutherford.
yeah,
Like, they don't need to do the gimmick of we're just focusing on the senior officers.
yeah, yeah. I agree.
All right, so let's go and jump into some of my. Oh, I lost my outline. I think, yeah, I want to start with talking about the overall season long story arc of the interdimensional fissures opening up everywhere. Because I'm not sure how you feel about this, but I kind of feel like if I compare this to season 4, because season 4 also had an ongoing storyline that was throughout the entire season, I don't think they did as good of a job with it, because I feel like in season 4, like, I was invested. I felt like a mystery. I was like, oh, who's doing these ships? And we got like a little bit every episode, and they would touch on it sometimes. It would be like a threat, and I was interested. There was some suspense involved, and then in episode 9, when it was like built up to this great episode with this great character moment for Mariner, and then we had this big reveal that it was Nick Locarno. Whereas this one, it seemed like they were just kind of lackluster with it. They'd touch on an episode here and there, but they never really focused on it, and the characters didn't seem all that interesting. They seemed nonchalant. Oh, yeah, it's another fissure opened up, and there was this purple Enterprise that went through, and I guess we'll just deal with that. And so it didn't seem like that build up, that suspense. And then the finale that dealt with it, it seemed like it was kind of like they needed to throw in another plot about the Klingons attacking the Cerritos in order to fill up that episode, and there wasn't enough there. I mean, I guess you could say the big build-off was the Fissure Quest episode, but that was leading to this thing, which was kind of an essential, just an anomaly that had to close. So, I don't know. To me, I think this as an overarching story arc, it kind of, I wouldn't say failed entirely, but I don't think it stacks up as to season 4 in that regard.
I have a different take on that. And
Okay.
it's interesting because, and I don't remember what you said specifically about season 4, so I don't necessarily lop you into this category, but I hear other people in other videos saying similar things to what you're saying, but then last year they were complaining about that season 4 so story arc, that it was like repetitive, that it was the same thing, and that it was like it wasn't going anywhere. And now those same people are complaining that, oh, this isn't as good as season 4. And I don't think that that's you necessarily. I don't remember that you were one of those people, but I'm just saying I hear that out in the ether. And I agree that last season 4 was repetitive. We didn't need it as often as we got it. Like, I get it, where ships are disappearing. It felt disjointed. It felt tacked on. And what I said about season 4 or season 5 story arc, that this is refreshing, that they're not beating us over the head with it, like that they're focusing on the story that they're telling. They don't have to have this tacked on ship disappearing thing that has nothing to do with the rest of the episode. They can just kind of remind us every once in a while. I mean, they focused on it on episode 1, and they just kind of reminded us a little bit every once in a while, so we get the point that we're building to this. This is going to be episode 9 and 10 is going to be about this. And I got that. I'm like, okay, episodes 9, we did episode 1 about it. Episodes 9 and 10 are going to be about it. I get it. I didn't need more. I actually thought it was kind of perfect that they just gave us a little dose here and there and didn't beat us over the head with it like the way that season 4 did. So I actually thought it was a lot better than season 4, in that I didn't like, I get it. I get where
Interesting.
you're going. Like, I don't need anything else. Like, I want you to focus on the story that you're telling in that particular episode and not waste my time with uh, this tacked on, like, oh, look where we're going later in the season. I actually have the exact opposite point of view. I feel
Oh, really? Okay,
season
yeah, that's
five was
interesting.
much better than season four because I didn't feel like I was beat over the head with it. It was just like little reminders. Hey, this is what we're gonna do. Cool, awesome. Now let's focus on what this episode is about. So I really appreciate it that they did it that way.
So yeah, I can't like remember exactly like when season four. I had to go back and watch my reviews. I think it's possible there was an episode or two where I was like, oh, what's this scene in here with the missing ship? Do we really need that scene? And I'm sure that could be true for an episode or two, but I think overall, I think the story arc worked, and I think that the payoff was better towards the end of the season. And I still feel like I think with season five, I think the first episode was definitely like a good way to draw you in, like to introduce the storyline. I just feel like I didn't feel the threat. I just felt like I think the way I said it is in my review that I just recorded is that when the characters seem nonchalant about it, that makes me feel nonchalant about it. Whereas in the previous season, it seemed like there was a more bigger deal and a bigger threat.
Yeah, because they're nonchalant about it. The way that I take it is because they have this other episode that they need to focus their energy on. And like that's what I want them to do. I don't want them to be distracted by this thing that has nothing to do with that particular episode. So I like the nonchalantness that the characters had. And I would say that yeah, I think the payoff for season four was better because you had episodes 9 and 10 that both focused on, again, I'm going to be probably a broken record, our characters. And, and that's what makes Lower Decks great to me is the character stories. And then episodes 9 and 10, we had this really fantastic cameo episode in episode 9, but didn't focus on our characters. And it wasn't until 10 where we got into the nitty gritty of our characters, whereas last year we got into it starting with episode 9. So I would say because of that reason that the payoff was better, but but not for any other reason. Like I will say that I'm more interested in parallel universes and fissures in an opening than I am in Nick Locarno being a villain. So I personally have more interest, more investment in the storyline. But I would say that they did pay it off better in season 4.
And maybe that's my main sticking point. I think if they had like paid it off better, particularly in the finale, because again it felt kind of like a B storyline to the Klingon stuff. Like if they had paid it off better, maybe then I would have been more okay with it throughout the season. But I still will stand by that. I think season 4, I still preferred like the way it set it up throughout every episode. Um, and I think there's a way you can do it where you can have it be a threat, but still focus on your standalone episodes. And I think season 4 did pull that off.
Yeah.
For the most part.
I don't know. I don't think I needed more. I was like, yeah, I get it. Okay, we're gonna do it. It's fine. Like I get the point. I don't need more than that. So
and I think maybe it's also a possibility that I've grown a bit like William Boimler, where I'm kind of jaded to some of these parallel multiverse stuff.
Yeah.
And because I remember back in the day, like remember when the episode Parallels first came out.
Yeah.
And being like, oh my god! Like blown away. Look, there's tons of Enterprises. Worf is going to this universe. Oh my god, it's so amazing. And then by the time we get to this season, we get the parallel universe, the first episode. I'm like, oh yeah, it's an alternate universe, Cerrito. Okay. Like, I think that wonderment has just faded. I don't know if it's from oversaturation with Marvel and whatnot and other franchises and stuff. Maybe having nothing to do with Star Trek.
Yeah, perhaps.
All right, so Yeah, so let's jump into some of these characters here. I want to talk about. I know you touched on some of them already, but let's talk about their main group of characters: Mariner, Boimler, Tindy, Talin. Who was the other one? I barely remember. Oh yeah, that's right. I think Rutherford was in this season.
What's his name? Yeah.
and, and here's the thing with Rutherford, and I was looking at this, is that the first episode he did have an interesting arc, and it was resolved at the end of the second episode.
Yeah,
And
that's
then
right.
it
That's
was
right.
dropped for the rest of the season. He was just the background character until the final episode. They're like, "Oh, let's do this other arc where he's getting rid of his thing." I'm like, "What? Wait!" Like they just sped through it like so fast. And I'm like, wait a second, what? Like, why didn't you like take the time during that season building up, like maybe tie it into that arc that you started at the start of the season with him, like even when Tindy returned, because he like shut down emotionally. And no, he was like working himself to death, which was kind of
Yeah.
funny because he was missing Tindy, and then he met the Otherford, like
Yeah.
who had blocked out all of his emotions because he was so that. And he's like, "Oh, that's what I need to avoid. I can't do that." And then they could have tied that into what they eventually did with him ripping out his implant, but instead they just had him be a background character for the whole season, and all of a sudden had him do that.
Yeah. 100% agree. And I would actually go so far as to say that whole storyline with Tindy, whether it be about Rutherford, how it affected Rutherford, how it affected Tindy, is just like after episode 2, it's like it never existed. Like it just drops off of the face of the earth. It's just gone, which makes me. I mean, I was never a huge fan of that storyline anyway, so I'm fine. But it's like makes me think of the whole thing was maybe a waste of our time, like from going back in the last season when they started it, that it just has no lasting effects. So it's just like boom, it ends and it's just gone. Um, and um, yeah, and I didn't want them to do any more of it with Tindy, because I was over that storyline. But I do think you're right. I think for Rutherford's sake, they could have built that in, led that into something else for him that eventually connects to have some connective tissue to that episode, the finale, where all of a sudden he just hates the Cerritos out of nowhere, and then he says this is implant, and he just wait. And I was a bit confused. I didn't mention this in my review, but I was a bit confused. Like all this time, he could have just taken his implant out at any time. Like I thought it was like
Yeah, like integral, like to his being alive.
like that he could be. Yeah. I was like, wait, he could have just taken that out anytime he wanted. Like, I feel like that might. I don't know. I feel like if we went back and watched earlier seasons, that might be a contradiction. But I'm not 100%. Like I feel like it was at least implied that it is something.
Yeah,
But I could be wrong. I could be.
I don't know. Like, I don't think they ever did that great of a job of really explaining his implant. They kind of touched
Yeah.
on it here and there,
Yeah. Now,
but
Rutherford
yeah,
has always been a neglected character. And that's why season 3 was my favorite when they did the reflections episode. And I was like, finally, we're doing like a good Rutherford episode. And then season 4, I think, I don't really remember. I mean, I don't think they did any deep dives into his character, but he was still pretty prominent. And then in season 5, he's back to where he was in the beginning, like season 1. And actually, I would say even less so because at least in season 1, he had a lot of like side plots with Tindy and he was doing stuff. Whereas here, he's like almost non-existent. It seems like for a lot of the season.
yeah, no, totally. It seems like that that the only characters who had season-long arcs were Mariner and Boimler. That Tindy, Rutherford, and Talent kind of were just background characters until towards the end of the season, where like, okay, we'll finally do stuff with them now.
Yeah, Tindy got episode 7. That was hers, but other than that, and the Orion stuff at the beginning of the season, like she doesn't do much.
Yeah.
anymore.
Well, that's what I mean. Until
There's-
episode 7.
Yeah, there's no like continuing season long arc for
Yeah.
her. And I was very disappointed in Talin. Alex409 saying Talin is my favorite character. And I love Talin. And last year they did give her a centric episode in Pathological Fallacies. It was one of my favorites
Oh,
of
I
season
love
4.
that episode. Yeah.
And this year the closest we get is the dilated, what's it called, fully
Yeah.
dilated episode, which is really about Tendi. And because Helen doesn't really, we're not really seeing from her point of view until the end of the episode. So it's not really a Talin episode, but it's the only one where she features. It's probably the one where she features most prominently, and then she gets her moment in the finale as well. But I was disappointed in that because I even thought that, like, I can't remember who it was, if it was one of the showrunners or if it were Mike McMahon, or maybe it would have been the actress who does the voice for Talin. I remember she was on Trek Culture and did an interview. Maybe it was her, but I swear somebody said, "Oh, this is going to be a big season for Talin. She's going to get it." Like, I don't remember who said it, so maybe I made this up. But I swear that somebody said that this was going to be a big season for Talin, and it was less so than season 4. Like, so that was also really disappointing. I just kept waiting for the Talin centric episode, and then I was looking at the titles, and I was like, well, fully dilated, I don't know what that is. Maybe that'll be Talin. And then like Upper Decks, that's not going to be about Talin. And then I know that the last 2 are going to be like the wrap up episodes. Are probably going to focus on a lot of characters, so those won't be Talin. So I was looking at the episode titles again. Where is the Talin episode coming? And it didn't. That was the answer. There was none. So
yeah. So I want to address the chat real quick. Hello to everyone in the chat. Aaron, J. Keenan, Alex. Norman, great to see you. So J. Keenan 99 saying, I like how the season started with the alternate future ship, and then you see how the ship kind of sort of turns into that version as well, but with clear differences, though I wasn't a fan of the beard. I'm not so sure. I think I agree with that assessment because Mariner kind of avoided becoming her ultimate self, and so did Rutherford. Actually, it was mainly just Boimler. Like he seemed like Boimler's storyline was to be emulating his alternate self, and it seemed like the moral was going to be no, just be yourself. But it seems like the moral ended up being no. Actually, everything is better for you now that you emulated his alternate self. I know. At the end of the season, he did like give up the pad and give up on it, but by this stage, he was already like full on emulating him. So I don't know if we really got the.
Yeah, I was honestly disappointed in that because when they did that episode, and actually, a sidetrack, I'm going to have something to say about the Rutherford part of this because I just remembered like how that bothers me. But focusing on Boimler first, how he and Rutherford were like, "Yeah, we're going to be like other people," and can't remember which character it was like, I don't think that's maybe it was Tendi. Like, I don't think that's the lesson you're supposed to take from this. And I thought that's setting up for them learning that that's not true, and that never really ever happened. Like, he never really learned that lesson. I mean, it's good that he did destroy the pad to save Mariner, because his friendship with Mariner is more important than anything he gets from the pad. But he didn't really learn the lesson that actually just be yourself. Like that should have been the lesson, and then that they didn't really do that. So that's actually kind of a bit disappointing for me, if I'm being honest with you.
Yeah.
Then,
I don't think they did the best job with Boimler's storyline.
Yeah, and then with Rutherford, remember that episode where Rutherford was also like, and he started growing a beard, and then the next episode,
he had like a little bit of stubble.
He had a little stubble, and he was doing what Boimler was doing, and then the next episode it was just dropped, and his beard was gone. Like, I love how Boimler kept growing more and more of a beard, but Rutherford was growing a beard in one episode, and then it was just gone, and they never mentioned it again.
So someone was telling me that was, and I could see this maybe being the case, that was kind of an in joke at when Jordy grew a beard for 2 episodes and it just disappeared and never seen again. That they were kind of making fun of that.
I mean, yeah, but except that they made it kind of part of his arc, where he was like joining Boimler, and it's like, yeah, I'm going to do this too, and then they just drop it. So
Yeah,
with Jordy, it wasn't like the beard was just there. It wasn't like part of
yeah,
the.
it wasn't an arc. Yeah,
So I think that's what bothers me more. Than
yeah,
yeah,
no, yeah, that just seemed weird. I kind of just like ignored that and like
yeah.
whatever.
But it just goes to show like how poor of a job they did with Rutherford this season.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, and Jake came in also was saying that. Oh, also brings up the fact that Captain Freeman went to Starbase 80, just like she did in the alternate
The
universe.
alternate universe, yeah.
Yeah, that is a good point. I did forget about that, but I think, but most other things, it seemed like it wasn't. Yeah. Um.
But
What else
Starbase,
is?
but it was a nice twist on it because you get the impression that it was a really bad thing that she was in Starbase 80 in the other
Yeah.
universe. Where
Oh yeah.
it's
True.
actually a good thing that she went to
Yeah.
Starbase 80. Like this is actually a promotion because she's in charge of this big project. By the way, are we going to get a chance to talk about the fact that there's just this portal there now that's just
Yeah. No, we'll get to that at the end when we talk
okay?
about the ending.
It's just hanging out there. Potentially is still there during Star Trek Picard times, unless it gets closed between the. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway,
Yeah, yeah. Well, anyway, yeah. So also in the chat, Alex was saying the penultimate episode following an alternate reality storyline that impacts our reality is the finale. It's exactly what happened in Stargate Atlantis. And if you saw my review that I did on Stargate Atlantis, I said that episode sucked. I fucking hated that episode. It was a piece of shit. So I think they did much better. They just made an excuse to do like turn the show into CSI for one episode, and it was so terrible. But anyway, it was like Las Vegas. Ugh. But no, this one was way better than that. Let's see. Yeah. What else have we got? There should have been a scene with Boimler shaving the beard. Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe that would have shown that he um, grew, that he's being himself and not emulating. Like with them ending with him having a beard, it's like, yeah, he's just emulating himself. It's like he learned nothing.
yeah. I mean, I think there's a way that he can keep the beard, but still like adopt it for himself, like not just trying to be like somebody else. Because I think the beard is kind of cool, so I don't mind that he didn't shave it. But I think they could have done. I mean, that would have been one way to have a show a clear character arc, but I think there's a world where they can keep the beard and still have him learn something. But um, yeah,
Oh God, Jay came in '99. I'm referring to the open portal, saying that's how Agnes Girardi breaks the hippie borg into our universe at the beginning of Picard season 2. No. Oh God, Picard. What now? What is this thing you're talking about? I don't. I have no idea what you're talking about. In the process of wiping that from my mind. Anyway.
yeah. No, somebody like made a. I can't remember if it was Norman or who it was. Made a reference to Picard season 2 in my live chat that I did, and I didn't get it. I was like, "What are you talking about?" And they were like, "Oh, it's a Picard season 2 reference." I'm like, "Oh, I'm blocking that from my memory."
Yeah, see, I'm in therapy about this. I'm just trying to. The only way I can grow emotionally is to just try to
Yeah.
block that.
Alex409 says, or maybe have him shave it and have it be a goatee, but then he would be evil if he did that.
Yes, it would be the evil point. Can't do that. I'm glad they did avoid the whole mirror universe thing. I mean, they did have that thing in the finale where the ship turned into a Terran, but that was fine. Like that was just a quick reference. So I'm
Yeah.
fine with that. I'm just glad. Like I'm still upset that Prodigy did a freaking mirror universe. Like
Yeah.
enough with the goddamn mirror
Yeah.
universe.
Well, I mean, and just the fact that Deep Space Nine, there is no more Terran Empire, and there's no way to rebuild the Terran Empire by Prodigy times, so that everybody's just evil again, and that would completely underdo everything that Deep Space Nine did if they did do that. So there is a possibility where the mirror universe, just like our prime universe, has different versions of it. So there's a different.
That's what I took it to be. Yeah, to
Yeah.
me that's the
And I
only
wish they
real
had said that. Like, I wish Chakotay had been like, oh, well, I thought that the Terran Empire had fallen. Oh, this must be a different version. And then I would have been totally satisfied. But yeah, bringing this back to Lower Decks, I'm also glad that we got nothing more than the Terran ship. And I will just take that as an alternate version of the mirror universe that we know, because it fits in more with uh, this storyline, where there's like just an infinite number of parallel universes where it could be a different version of the mirror universe. I mean, it was basically to have this joke where Shaq's just like, look at these weapons we have. Oh, they don't work.
That was a funny joke. Yeah, that I did like that. That's why I didn't mind. It was just
Yeah.
it just did the mirror universe just for that one gag, and it worked.
Just
So
for
I
the
was
one
like,
gag, and that's
yeah.
it. Yeah, it didn't like have the. I mean, we already did like the what do you call that episode that I really I what was it called? Why am I
I excretus.
I Excretus, yeah, where they
Yeah.
did do a mirror universe, but it was in the holodeck.
Oh right, yeah, that's
They
right.
all
That's
had
a holiday, so
beards.
that's fine.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah that was good.
they all had beards, like, and they were all talking about sex and being evil.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
All right. So I want to say hello to Tyler in the chat saying, Alyssa, I can only watch for a minute, but I have a quick question. What is your ranking on modern track finales, The Last Generation, Life Itself, and the new Next Generation?
Yeah, I will answer that question. I saw you wrote that in the comments of my video. I will get to it. I don't want to get too sidetracked on this video since we're already a little sidetracked. So I promise you I will get to that question, but not right now, because I want to get back to Lower Decks.
Well, it's about the last episode of Lower Decks. I don't know.
Yeah, but then I have to sit here and think about how I want to rank them, and then
okay. Well, I can answer though. To me, it's easiest. Lower Decks is the best, and then Life Itself is the second best, close, and Last Generation. Fuck that episode. That's end game as far as I'm concerned.
Okay. Oh no, I see. He didn't ask. Oh, his original question, he asked me ranking Legacy Trek too, and I'm like,
oh yeah, that's harder. Yeah.
Think about it.
Yeah.
I don't know. And honestly, I don't know. I don't remember. I don't know where I would rank Life Itself versus the new Next Generation. I think I can't remember what I gave that as a rating. I think I might have given it a 9. So I don't know. I think those two are close. So I probably have to go back and watch that and then like think about it. So I don't know. I know the Last Generation is last, but for those other two, I don't know how I would.
Yeah, that's fair. I think they were kind of close to each other. So anyway, yeah, now let's get back to the characters. So let's see. Oh, Mariner. So yes, as you mentioned, we get a lot of her this season, but I think her character story worked. That she was learning that she saw the uptight version of herself at the start of the season and sort of learning to sort of let go of her being like this crazy person and being sort of more carefree, which I love that. I love that they built off of the character development that she had at the end of season 4, that they just didn't ignore it and have her go back to being her old crazy self, that she like grew as a person. And that was a great like gag at the end of the season where she was like, oh, I thought you'd freak out. I was like, no, I'm fine. I just burned my bed and it's still on fire, but I'm good now. It's out of my system. That was great. And also I love how like they did focus on her, as you said, for the first 6 episodes, but I love how when we get to episode 7, she is just the comic relief. I think that was again the whole thing about wanting to do the flute and be the light was a great use of her. So yeah, so Mariner to me is the one thing that did work this season, but as you say, maybe not focus on her that much because you need to give some of these other characters screen time as well. But
Yeah. Yeah, I think the one that was the most um, important for me for her story arc was seeing her be a mentor to Ollie and just like show how far she has come. That one I really loved. A couple of the other ones I could have maybe done without, but although the Jennifer coming back was also like they needed to bring Jennifer back. So
yeah,
that didn't necessarily have to be the A plot though, but they did need to bring
yeah.
Jennifer back.
Sorry, I just want to address what Norman said in the chat about Google News keeps pushing headlines claiming that the last episode proves discoveries in an alternate universe based on the Klingon orchestrated shown for, or the Discovery Klingon shown for a second. Yeah, I've heard that, and fuck those people. Those people can just go fuck
I
themselves.
just ignore those people.
Yeah, I hate
And
those.
Alex Kurtzman and everybody has said no, it's the Prime Universe, and that should be good enough for you. Like it is.
But these people are still going to do it. And I've heard some people like really try. They're in such deep denial. They're like, "Well, the Prime Universe is what refers to this new Discovery universe. It's not the real universe at all the other." No, the Prime Universe means fucking everything except for those stupid Kelvin Universe fucking films. And yeah. Anyway, those people are a plague on me. But So anyway,
yeah, they're like the Die Hard as a Christmas movie people.
oh God, I feel like they're in the majority now. The Die Hard is a Christmas movie. I kind of resigned myself to have to accept the fact that most people consider Die Hard a Christmas movie.
Even though it's not about Christmas in any way, shape, or form. But anyway.
I'm just sick of having that argument too. I was like, these people can be deluded if they want. But anyway, it's like, yeah, it's not. I saw this meme today. I thought it was fucking hilarious, but where it showed a screenshot from, I think it was Rambo: First Blood, and Rambo was being arrested, and there was a Christmas tree in the background. Like, ah, this is a Christmas movie, and I'm like, yes, that's the same logic the Die Hard people use. But anyway, sorry.
I saw a different meme about a different movie that was similar, but I can't remember what movie it was. It was a
someone said that once about Generations too. Generations.
Yeah. Generations was a Christmas movie. It was a Christmas movie, just like Die Hard was.
Yeah.
And Marvel, the MCU show Hawkeye was a Christmas show. It was all about Christmas.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry, I'm kidding. Oh, and Jay Kamen said Iron Man 3 was a Christmas movie.
Yeah.
I didn't even remember that was taking place.
Yeah, no, I was going around Christmas too. Yeah, Christmas exists in the background. It's a Christmas movie.
Anyway, sorry. So, yeah, let's. I want to talk now about the senior officers. And they're normally, they don't really have story arcs per se. They're mainly, and maybe Captain Freeman and Ransom did, but mostly they're just, usually for like gags and background stuff. I don't know if, I guess you could say Ta'ana had a story arc by learning to show empathy more by torturing herself, but yeah, the Freeman thing is like, I don't know, it's tied to like having like being afraid. Oh my God, I got sent to Starbase 80 or what the hell? And she was like, I did like during the Starbase 80 episode that she was preoccupied with that. Yeah. And everyone was just like, let it go. And at the end, she does actually end up going to Starbase 80. But I think, I don't know, getting to the ending a bit, because I think this is what worked for Freeman's story arc, is that her being okay, like tied into Mariner's story arc, being okay with like Mariner saying like, you don't need me anymore. Like you've grown enough. I don't need to be. You don't need to have me around. That was actually touching. I think that was a great way to sort of fulfill their sort of relationship.
Yeah, and it started at the beginning of that episode where Boimler and Mariner are going to Freeman about what they learned from the Padlet and expecting her not to believe them, and she's like, "No, I trust you. You're some of my best officers," and like I like that. I like it shows how far they came, and that was at the beginning of the episode. And then yeah, at the end, she's like, "Yeah, you don't need me anymore," and that was that was really touching. I did like that.
I was remembering like this at the start of the show, like season one. I used to say that Captain Freeman was a terrible captain, one of the worst captains ever. I think it was because of that. The was it the down? Was it not down to buffer time? Where she like gets obsessed. She's like, "No more buffer time," and starts like acting crazy. But what I would say is, I think the writers just got better at writing for her.
Yeah.
At first, they were more just doing it for comedies and jokes and stuff, but then they sort of started actually working on her character and making her.
Well, I mean, she was Mariner's mom, and so
Yeah.
that made her kind of an important character. So yeah, they had to kind of work on her. Yeah.
And
oh,
go ahead. No, go ahead.
no, I was gonna move to Ransom, but if you were gonna,
Yeah, so was I. So
yeah, I mean, Ransom, I would say, I don't know if he has like necessarily a really long lasting like arc that goes from episode to episode over the course of the series, but I do think that um, we certainly get more depth to him, that he does like um, genuinely like he's in a way kind of a father figure to his the ensigns, and like does look out for them and does care for them, and is trying to help them grow and become better officers. And they definitely added that element to his character so that he's not just the one-dimensional workout freak, and he still has that
yeah.
aspect of his character all the way up till the very end where he's like engage the core. I mean, he's and I'm glad that Mariner said, "Oh no, don't do a workout pun," because I wouldn't have got that was a workout pun if she didn't say that. So I'm glad she said that. But yeah, he still has that, but he also like is, and I think that kind of started. I don't remember if that was either season 3 or 4. Maybe it was last season when he had an episode with Mariner, where he seemed to really like actually care about her and want her to be better. Um, so, and that's not new to season 5, but I think so. I don't know if it like he really developed, but he did have some complexity to his character.
Yeah, well, particularly the ending when he became captain. Like,
Yeah.
That was a good sort of. Oh, and also the other thing in the finale that was good with him is the fact that he was hiding that Klingon guy.
Yeah.
Sort of, because I mean, I think it was fucking obvious that the message of Admiral Freeman wasn't really. I mean, come on, it was like. Yes, take them back. It's like it's obviously not. It was silly that she even fell for it. But Ransom was smart enough to see through that and like went behind Freeman's back, but did it because she knew that she couldn't, so that she didn't have to, and so that was like a good character moment for him, like stepping up, like outside of just being a mentor to Boimler. And as little sense as it makes for Boimler and Mariner to be provisional first officers, I do love that for Ransom's character. I do love that. He's like, oh, a little competition will do you good, and that kind of thing. And I do kind of like that they're at least acknowledging that these lower deckers, like, repeatedly save the ship and save the mission.
I mean, that actually could be an argument for maybe it was about time to wrap it up, or maybe they could have gotten one more season, but not much more, because they're losing the concept of the show, like,
Yeah.
which was inevitable. Which, when you have main characters, they have to be the main focus, and that was inevitably going to happen. So the concept of the show is like just gradually drifting away. So where they're, I mean, they are the ones saving the ship all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have to be because they're the main characters.
Exactly. I think the show did a really good job, actually, for the most part, like focusing on minor stories and stuff. But where it really lost it is the season finale, because every season finale had to be like a big high stakes, and if you're having big high stakes, you have to have our main characters in it. And so for the first couple of seasons, okay, but then eventually it was like, yeah, they keep like saving the ship, so eventually you gotta acknowledge that. Like, I do love, and I think it was last season when there was like Rutherford wanting to get promoted. It's like, oh yeah, sure, here you go, because you saved the ship that one time. So they're acknowledging.
Yeah.
But yeah, oh yeah, J Came in '99 saying, Harry Kim about the whole promotion thing, but we'll get to Harry Kim. um, okay, so what is it? Oh, we said, yeah, I want to talk about what did I want to talk about next? I lost my outline. Something about, let's do oh yeah, so tying up some side characters like Jennifer, William Boimler, Ma'a. I think it was, yeah, I liked the season that they did find, and they didn't know it was to be the final season. That they didn't, if they ended the show without resolving whatever happened to William Boimler after that sort of cliffhanger, I would have been like really upset. And it's also, I love the stuff they did with Jennifer as well, because they're kind of meta, like commentary on itself, like acknowledging the fact that she kind of just dropped off the show and they just stopped talking to each other. So they actually had an episode where they made fun of that and they acknowledged, like, you just stopped talking to me. And so she just pretends that they're still girlfriends. I think that was a nice little meta commentary on the show itself that I love. And I think, yeah, Mike McMahon in interview I heard was pretty much acknowledged that that was the intention behind that. And yeah, and the Ma'a, first saw him in Wage Douge, and unlike Talin, we hadn't really seen him as much. So it was good, like, actually following up on him, and he gets his own episode and comes back in the finale. And of course, William Boimler gets his own episode. I did feel like that was kind of an excuse, though, to have Jack Quaid do a voice in that episode, to at least have a Boimler adjacent character in that episode. But as I said, I'm still at least glad that they addressed it.
Well, they could have very easily had any alternate universe Boimler, like to have Jack Quaid have some work, the way that they did in alternate universe Mariner. But they were like, hey, we haven't done anything with this William Boylan with character, so let's just and I do think that it's a bit of a retcon, but it's a retcon for the better. Like, I do think that they made it, because I really feel like they very strongly implied that he was, turning evil, and Section 31 was up to no good, and he was going to do evil things. And they bring him back to do this noble quest to save the universe, all the universes. So that is not at all what they were implying at the end of the last episode that he was in season 3. But I think that's for the better, because I think that would be dumb if he's evil. That doesn't make any sense. He was the same Boimler all the way up through the end of season 1, beginning of season 2. So of course he wouldn't be evil.
Yeah, it would be the evil twin stereotype trope.
Yeah.
Just the whole lore thing. But
it did seem like that's what they were implying, and that's what they were originally thinking that they were going to do, but then they changed course and did something different. And which I
think maybe that was their intention.
It seemed like it was at the time. Like, it seemed like that's the direction they were going.
Was that in season 3? Was it
season 3, Counterpoint 2. Or counter, I always call it Counterpoint. Crisis Point.
Crisis Point.
I always call it Counterpoint. Crisis Point 2. Paradoxes. Yeah, it was that episode. Because remember, the whole thing with Boimler was... And see, I don't think they have actually had a Boimler episode as a Boimler-centric episode like that since then, since season 3. Like, I just don't think that they've had it. They've had great Mariner stories. They've had some Tendi, but like, I don't think they've had, like, that's the last great Boimler story in my mind, was season 3. Getting back to Boimler again. I know we were talking about something else.
Yeah. But I was just trying to think if there was a season 4 one that would have to go.
No, season 4, he was the side character the whole time. Like, his biggest story arc was Mark Twain. Like, he had there was no deep dive into his character. I remember complaining about this.
Right.
There was no deep dive into his character at all. They did more of a deep dive this season with the whole beard thing than they did in season 4.
Yeah, I mean, at least he was like he had a story arc, but he was like a side character.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is basically, I wouldn't have necessarily predicted this at the beginning, but I mean, pretty consistently throughout, this is the Mariner show. Like, Mariner is the lead character. She is like the what a captain might normally be in a regular Star Trek show. She is the main character.
Yeah, and I feel like, at first it was a joint sort of Mariner, Boimler, but it definitely turned into Mariner as the lead, which I don't necessarily have an issue with. But
I don't have an issue with either. I mean, I wish in season 5 they had balanced it a little bit more, but I don't have an issue with her being overall the main character, because she's a really great character and Tawny Newsome is awesome. So.
Yeah, and they did improve her character. She was a bit of a Mary Sue in the first season.
Yeah. That episode, season 1, episode 2, when I went back and did my rewatch, I think I gave it like a 1 or a 2 out of 10. Something like that. Because it was just so bad, just what a terrible Mary Sue she was. So they definitely toned that down and made it a little more reasonable over time.
Yeah, but getting back to supporting characters, Norman mentions Livik. That I love how they kept bringing in Livik. I just thought that was such a. And they were all zombies, and zombie Livik like pried the door open, and the Mariner's just like Livik. And then he was in the final episode, like cheering on Rutherford and whatnot. But Norman was saying that they should have made Livik and Rutherford provisional first engineering officer.
Well, it's true. They did have Tendi and Talend as science officers, Mariner and Boimler as first officers. Yeah, they should have Rutherford and Livik.
They should have like Billows maybe could have went back to his like home world or whatever and being a king and said, we need a new chief engineer, so I'm making you both provisional chief engineers.
No, that's fine. And so on some video, and I don't know if this was ever confirmed, but some video I watched said that in the Upper Decks episode when they had the Delta shift and the Beta shift, that it's pretty sure one of them was Tal Guy.
Who's Tal Guy?
Tal Guy, the guy who's always in the background wearing a towel.
I think I missed this whole thing. I'm not really aware who Tal Guy is.
Yeah, I only know because I think Trek culture likes to point it out.
Okay. I always notice like those tiny details.
Yeah, but other videos have pointed it out too. Like there's just this character who's been, I think he's been there since season 1, who is like standing in the hallway wearing a towel around his waist. And he's sometimes has had lines like and sometimes he's just there in the background. But he's like always been, I mean, I think he has done things, like done little things to like little jokes or whatever, but mostly he's just been in the background, like wearing a towel around his waist. But one of the Delta shift or Beta shift was Tal Guy, but he was fully dressed.
Well, I did recognize some of those some
Yeah,
of
some of
those
those
Delta
characters.
shifters. Yeah, but oh, and in my review for the finale, I said I wondered if that was the guy who ascended in season one returning through a portal, and I watched another video where they confirmed that was in fact.
Yeah, it was him.
Yeah, I wasn't sure at first
I
because it's
didn't
been
catch
so
that at
long.
all. You were the
Yeah,
first one that I saw that said that. I didn't even catch it when it happened.
yeah, because when I saw this guy falling through his portal in the ceiling, I was like, wait a second, is that the Ascension guy?
Yeah, yeah. Um, and I also wanted to say what I love that they brought back Jennifer and William Boimler and Ma'a, but did not bring back Badgie. I mean, they shouldn't have
Oh
been away.
yes,
They did have
yes,
Gucci and like
yeah. That
at
was
the
like a background
brought
character.
back like
That's
during
yeah,
Mariner's her little speech voiceover. They
yeah.
showed Gucci for a second.
Didn't he like turn evil instantly and then turn back to good or something?
I don't remember. But so they did have Gucci for a second.
Yeah.
But I mean, Badgie's storyline was wrapped up, and there shouldn't
Oh yeah,
be
100%. If
shouldn't
they,
be a way to bring him back. But I wouldn't have been surprised if they did, and they didn't bring back fucking Peanut Hamper. So I'm glad for that. So
I am disappointed they didn't bring back Arminus. What's his name?
Armor, no, not Armus.
It's not Armis. It's
Armature. No, Jeffrey Combs.
yeah, Jeffrey Combs. But I
I don't
guess
know. I feel like
it's
his
hard
story
not to bring
kind
him
of
back. Yeah, but he's such a great character, though.
Yeah, but not bring back. But then you have to bring back Peanut.
Yeah, but don't maybe find a way to bring him back.
I actually didn't even think about that character until just now. So I
Really?
don't mind that they didn't bring him back because I think his arc felt complete. I'm glad that we got William Boimler. They needed to bring back. I was
absolutely,
for it
100%.
last season. They definitely needed to bring back. I was so happy they brought back Ma'a. And Jennifer, yeah, they needed to. So they brought back the characters that they needed to bring back, and not the ones that they didn't, and not the ones that they didn't need to bring back. So I think they did. That's one thing season 5 did a good job of.
Yeah, and they had like just background gags for these other and I do love how they have this. They recycle the same characters too.
Yeah,
stuff. I was starting to wonder because. In that final shot of Starbase 80, where you see Captain Freeman and everyone sitting there, this is Guy, unless it's just animating the same guy, but it looked like, what the hell is the name of that guy from? I believe it was season 1, who was a lower decker with Boimler or whatever. Fletcher, that's his name. Yeah,
yeah. I think I might have caught him too. Yeah. Well, there was. Another video pointed out that they did when Mariner or what's your name Freeman was on Starbase 80 that they did show the guy who was like wearing the yellow jumpsuit when or one of the guys when Mariner went to Starbase 80.
Oh yeah.
And they did show one of those dudes, and it was not in this year's Starbase 80 episode, but he was there in the background. So he was there. Fletcher, I'm not sure about. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that was.
Might have been. I didn't notice them, but I mean, could have been.
But anyway, so yeah, let's then move on to talk about. Are we talking about the cameos now? No, we got to talk about the new characters first, which there wasn't that many. There was the Ensign Ali and the ones at Starbase 80, mainly just the captain one. Do you know that the chief engineer guy in Starbase 80 was voiced by Stephen Root? I did not recognize that.
Oh no, I see because I watch Trek Culture and they always they always point it out like that. It's like it's Stephen Root. And I think Jesse Gender might have also pointed it out.
Yeah, someone I watched pointed it out to me, and I was like, "Oh, right." I had no idea.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't have known it without other people pointing it out. No.
Yeah, but with, I mean, the Starbase 80 characters, it seems like they pop up again at the end of the season to sort of tie it up, but it doesn't seem like they were setting them up to be recurring characters. But the Ensign Ali, I do have a feeling that's her name, right? I
Yeah,
believe.
Ellie. Yeah.
Yeah, that she was. They were definitely introducing her to be like a main thing
A
character.
recurring character, yeah.
Yeah,
Probably not like Talin becoming one of the lower decks, but like someone we would see again.
I don't know. Like I was thinking it was almost like a Talin esque character, but maybe not elevated as much as Talin
I would
was.
put her more in like I would put her more in the Jennifer category, like pre
Oh, really?
last season where she disappeared, where we'll see her a bunch, but she won't necessarily like be one of. And occasionally she'll have a good story and participate in the main story, but then she wouldn't be like a
I don't know. I thought that episode that is because it focused on her so much. Is
yeah.
I felt
Well, there
like
was an episode that focused a lot on Fletcher, and we never saw him again. So
true.
and
True. But no,
that's
it didn't feel like they were building Fletcher up, where it felt like they were building her up to be.
yeah, yeah. I think she would have been a step below Talin though, but I do think we would have seen her again.
Yeah.
I don't think she would have been like sitting there at the bar with them at the end, or the kept whatever the.
Oh, part of the. I think maybe eventually, like by the end of season 6, if they had one.
I don't know.
But yeah, it's hard to say what they would have done if this.
Yeah, they were definitely setting her up for more, than for sure.
And I don't know how I feel. I like the idea of her being like the new Mariner, like the misfit Mariner has to sort of confront someone that used to be like her. Like that was a good concept, but I'm not so. I don't know if I really got a handle on her character. The whole thing about being the daughter of Zeus, I wasn't a fan of that.
Yeah, I think she was the granddaughter of Zeus, wasn't she?
Oh, was it? Yeah, something like that. Yeah, yeah, granddaughter. I think you're right.
Yeah, well, my big complaint about that is that they said that Zeus and all of them left. So how could she be the granddaughter of Zeus? Like,
Yeah, that's what I said.
like she should be the granddaughter of Apollo. And I think the reason why they said Zeus and not Apollo is because they wanted her to have lightning powers for the plot, and Zeus is the one with the lightning. So they just ignored the fact that in that episode they said Zeus left and he's not there anymore. And just said, "Oh, I'll just say she's Zeus." I think it would have been better to say she's Apollo's granddaughter. But when you're offspring of the gods, you can have whatever power you want. You don't have to.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Like you don't have to have the same powers.
Yeah.
So, like, I think they could have like said she's the granddaughter of Apollo and directly tied it into that episode because we'd actually seen that character. Zeus we never saw, and then just have them just throw away line like, oh yeah, different people have different powers. So like, and then okay, fine. Like I would have liked that more.
Exactly. That's all you need to do. I mean, I thought she was an okay character though. They could have, if they had kept her around, I'm sure they could have like made it interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I liked her mainly because of how she boosted Mariner's story arc, like how she boosted Mariner's story arc and the contrast.
Well, that's what I'm thinking though, is that I don't know how well she would stand on her own. Like she was good.
I know that's why I don't think she would be like one of the ones, like one of the main ones. She would,
yeah, true.
Because I don't think there's enough there for her to get to that level. Whereas Talin is an interesting enough character on her own to be that.
I think what I see for her, again, I'm imagining season 6, is that she would be kind of like a not at the same level, like not sitting at the table with Talin and Tindy and all them, but sort of a sort of protege mentor relationship, like before.
Yeah, might pop up every once in a while, but not in every episode or anything. Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about the cameo. And so all of the major cameos are all in episode 9 except for Data, right? Is Data? Am I forgetting one that I had earlier this season?
Because in episode 1 they didn't really have any, right? They just had their own selves, like there wasn't anyone.
And episode 2, let's count the Orions.
The Orions.
But no, I think that was it, right?
I think it was Purple Data and then all the cameos that were in episode 9. Yeah.
And I Yeah, at first I wasn't sure how I'd feel about Data, but I think that Lower Decks, or that episode of Lower Decks, gets the award of the best way to bring Brent Spiner back without like resurrecting Data or whatever, because they did not have him play fucking ancestors or brother or sister fucking soon. Just have it be Data from an alternate universe.
Yeah. And I think they brought Data back in the best way that he's ever been brought back, because I liked how he played off of Tendi and how he was kind of a mentor to Tendi and how like those characters interacted. I thought it was a perfect use of Data, and then just you have him be a head was also just a Data head.
Yeah.
Like I thought it
That
was
was a nice like Times Arrow callback.
yeah, nine times they recall that. But I thought it was a great way to use Brent Spiner. I thought
Yeah,
it was probably the
100%.
best use of Data that the show has had,
It
or
was
that
also
any.
a callback to Disaster too, because when they took off his head and he was like talking
Oh yeah, that's right.
with it. But yeah, no, him like sort of being the mentor to Tendi. Yeah, that was an amazing use of Data. And I love how like Mariner was like freaking out, like, yeah, oh my god, it's Data, you're so awesome. Like,
Yeah.
but oh yeah, and speaking of that, like in the next episode when we got the Paul thing, I do love how they didn't like spend too much time going like, oh my god, or whatever. But I do love that scene. I thought it was hilarious. A nice little jab when the other Mariner from the other universe comes aboard and she's talking to Boimler. It's like, you realize that's the Paul right sitting right over there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
And do you agree that I mean, I would just kind of hand wave that as timey wimey stuff, like the different universes have different timings or something. I'm just like whatever. Like I don't know,
Yes.
or did it bother you that they had to Paul or Alfred Woodard's character, who's like a couple hundred years earlier?
So I will say that I'm willing to excuse to Paul as like timey wimey stuff. But I think when they bring back Alfred Woodard's character, was Lily?
Yeah,
I'm
Lily.
like, then you're just stretching it. Now you're just like you're doing it too much to bring. And I think that she's such a insignificant character too. That I'm just like, and I don't know. It's just like that one didn't sit right to me. Out of all the cameos that episode, that's the only one that I was like, that yeah, it kind of bothered
Yeah, I didn't bother me as much, but I never really liked that character because you know how I feel about First
me.
Contact.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's part of what's influencing me. I'm not the biggest fan of that movie
But
either.
my from the beginning, I've always said that it seemed like they couldn't get Whoopi Goldberg for that movie, so they just got some other black lady to do the
One
exact
hundred
same
percent.
to do the exact same role.
100%.
So that just has always bothered me. Like, let's just get some other black lady. So just, I mean, you could have had any character do the same role, but we got to get another black lady specifically because Whoopi Goldberg is not there. Like, I don't
Well,
know.
you need someone not in Starfleet though, because
Yeah,
they feel free to yell at Picard, whereas none of his support.
yeah.
But still, it's like, yeah, no, I totally agree, and that's part of why I don't really need to see her again. Like,
Yeah. I wasn't that bothered by it. It was like, it's fine. I mean, I wasn't excited by it, but I wasn't bothered by it. It's like, it is what it is.
yeah, I mean, well, the good thing about that is because Jay came in the chat is saying that he loved the yeah, Lily Sloan coming back because
Oh,
the
that's her
show
name.
tricked.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's that's because that is the one good thing that they did. And I think you mentioned this in your review too, is that they played it off like yeah you were expecting like who's causing all these fissures to be like this evil like Nick Lucarno whatever evil type character, but it turns out to just be a misunderstanding. And it's just someone who's travel an alternate universe where instead of traveling by work, they go to different alternate universes. Like
Yeah.
that I did like. I don't think it needed to be Lily Sloan, but I did like that little.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it could have been someone more modern, and then they could mention that Zephyr Conqueror and Lily.
Yeah, see, that would have made more sense to me. Yeah.
Yeah, instead of actually having her. Like, yeah. Yeah. I mean, at that point, it does feel. It's funny because none of the other cameos felt this way, but that one definitely felt like she's from that other movie.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like the T'Pol and the Garrick and Bashir and the Harry Kim, they all didn't. They all felt kind of natural to the thing. Where
Can we talk about Garrick and Bashir now?
yes. Let's talk about Garrick and Bashir.
I I just love that they fulfilled that because um they even said in what do you call it, and what we left behind, the documentary, I think it was Irish Stephen Barry, even said that, like, oh yeah, everybody knows Garrick is gay. Like, it was just, it was it was a known thing. But who was it, Berman or Pillar, who was, somebody shot it down?
Berman. It was Berman.
It was
Always Berman. He always shot down any sort of same sex.
Anything that would have been good. Yeah.
Yeah.
um yeah, and but that Andrew Robinson played it that way initially, and that um and I don't know that I would have even needed to see like a full blown romance between the two in the show, but even just um more obvious, like making it more obvious that Garrick was gay and liked Dr. Bashir, and that there was this complex relationship there, even if they don't actually get together. I think that that would have really enhanced those characters a lot. But as it was just sort of a thing that everybody knew but no one talked about, which is basically how, LGBTQ people were treated in the 90s. Like, everybody, and to an extent still today, but like everybody knows about it, but we're just never going to talk about it. So um to see that just fulfilled with them being in a full blown just relationship, and that the fact that they have such great chemistry, and they come across like a good couple, like the way that they bicker is like so perfect for a married couple, that it was so good. It was just so fulfilling for me that they finally paid that off, and then then it worked so well. um but that these characters felt real and legitimate, and that they belong there, and not um, just for the purpose of paying that off, but it actually fit in with everything. So I thought it was brilliant.
Oh, 100%. Like I thought, though, like again, they like slotted in like really
Yeah.
nicely into the thing. Like I think I had a split second reaction of, oh, it's Garrick. And I'm like, oh yeah, of course you're having to throw out names, but it only lasted for a split second because
Yeah.
it just fit like the episode so
Yeah.
well. And the whole Garrick Bashir thing. So Garrick had, the actor who played them in the first scene had said that that he played Garrick as pansexual. That was his intention.
Yeah. Yeah.
Berman came down and said, "No, you're not allowed to do that. You can't play him that way anymore. You have to play him as straight as an arrow." And the thing is that I totally disagree with it, and I'm pissed off about that. But the fact that they did actually play them that way for the rest of the show, I don't know how I'd feel if they came and did a reveal that, oh, actually, Garrick and Bashir were in love with each other the whole time. But the fact that they're making a parallel universe, I think, sort of, to me, that's perfect.
Yeah, that's perfect. It wouldn't, it wouldn't fit with the Prime Universe versions of them at this point, because they played them not that way for so long.
Yeah.
So I think using parallel universe versions was perfect. I did wonder why Bashir was a hologram, other than like
that was weird.
plot convenience later when they needed a hologram to save Mariner there at the end, but otherwise it just seemed weird that he was a. I mean, they were. It was a little little reference to I know an episode. One of your favorite episodes.
Yeah.
um, Not our man Bashir. Oh, Dr. Bashir, I presume. Right?
Yes, that's the
Yeah,
one.
yeah, and which the storyline with him being used as an EMH model was not the problem with that episode though. Like, but yeah, so they're just saying in another universe he was used as the EMH.
Yeah. Yeah, I just don't know why it just feel like, I don't know, it diminishes a little bit by making him a hologram. Like, why not just make him the real Bashir?
Yeah.
But it's not. It's not that big of a deal. Yeah. So Norman was saying instead, thanks to Rick Berman's influence, they put Garrick with a teenager, Zial, instead of that's way better. Have a 40-year-old man in a relationship with a teenager rather than And I do think, like, if they had revealed that Garrick was pansexual the whole time, as you mentioned, like maybe he had a thing for Bashir, like I wouldn't have a problem with that. Like that could slot in and make sense.
Yeah.
But anywho, so to Paul, I still want to see her in Strange New Worlds. I don't think it's going to happen, but I still want it to happen.
I think that's not enough. I think that we need to see Universe Paul older in Strange New Worlds. It could happen. It could happen.
I kind of feel like that mind meld she does with Curzon at the end of the episode, like they were setting up for something. So maybe they were intending to show her again next season.
Well, especially since they have that fucking portal sitting right there.
Yeah, exactly.
So they were setting up for something.
And maybe we could still get something. Maybe a Starbase 80 long trek.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so that but I love that they brought the Paul back, and and this is the Enterprise crossover that I was looking for. I'm glad it wasn't just we used that gel from Starbase 80. Which that was kind of dumb.
Yeah,
we actually get a
actual Enterprise crossover. It's not just the gel.
And all right, so let's get into Harry Kim. This whole thing about I like the joke that he's the whole not getting promoted thing and how ridiculous it is. I think they took the joke too far.
That's exactly how I feel. Taking the joke too far.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same
thing. That's exactly what was going through my head when they did that ending. Like, taking the joke too far. I'm like, okay, I get it. He was never promoted. Ha ha ha. Like, I thought that him, the lieutenant one, just like becoming a villain, and I don't know. To me, that was too much.
No, that was over the top. Like, his thing made no sense. Oh, I'm gonna bring all the Harry Kims back to my universe so they can get promoted. Like, what was it? What? Like, they just made him go insane instantly for no reason.
Because they needed some villain or something. They needed more,
that was a lazy way to come up.
Yeah. Yeah,
it was something better.
Yeah.
And I mean, and I wish, like, as having jokes about Harry Kim not getting promoted is all well and good, but you have the opportunity to fix the record, to show that Harry Kim got promoted in our timeline.
Yeah.
In Lower Decks.
Yeah.
So why not
just did.
Instead of this.
Did. I mean, yeah. Well, I don't think Star Trek Legacy is happening anymore, and I'm fine with it not happening. But I think at one point when I thought it might happen, I was like, well, they could have Captain Harry Kim appear in that show. But
I don't know. But there's always possibilities with long tracks, and maybe another show once Paramount gets its shit sorted. If they ever do, or whoever ends up owning them, once they get everything sorted, that we could get something taking place in the 25th century, like after the Picard timeline. maybe not legacy exactly, but like something that could further that timeline. Because
Yeah,
yeah, at the moment, like we Strange New Worlds is the only show, and then Academy is gonna come out, and that's it. Those
that's
two
it.
shows.
I know
Yeah,
that's really bothers me because I'm spoiled with all these Star Trek shows, and they just canceled two of them, and they're not replacing them. Well,
well,
Picard was all
Prodigies and
Prodigy's
Limbo.
probably
Yeah, that's probably gone too.
not coming back either, and so like we've got
Yeah.
two shows, and that I don't like that. So hopefully they will at least do some more long tracks. And I was thinking more along the lines of a straight up lower decks long track, but I like this idea of that you mentioned of a Starbase 80 long track, where it's
Yeah.
focusing on Starbase 80, Captain Freeman, and then we can have the Paul come back and have different characters from different universes popping in. Like I like that idea too.
I feel like it was, yeah. So let's just run into the what we thought about the ending and the ending possibility of the ending, because I feel like this is that he did this on purpose. That Mike McMahon did this on purpose to set up to leave a hanging thread to be like, oh yeah, maybe we can review, because it's almost like a Deep Space Nine, but instead of being by the wormhole, you're by fish into alternate realities. Like
Yeah,
that's
that's true.
a lot of fascinating storytellings, and you have T'Pol and Garrick and Bashir as characters.
Yeah.
Um, they should at least, yeah, they should at least do a long track about this. Like,
Yeah, they
and I
should.
feel like the maybe they had always intended to put Starbase 80 there, but I feel like having Captain Freeman go there was a decision made after they knew the show was being
Yeah.
canceled. That's like the end of the show.
Yeah, either that or they were gonna undo it, like they undo the.
Oh yeah. I don't know. I don't know if you can undo, like, make Captain Branson the captain and then undo. That's
Undo
something.
that.
I
I
feel
think,
like that's something that came. I feel like I think they had a different ending at first.
yeah, I no, I think so too. I think that they um putting Captain Freeman on Starbase 80 and making Captain Ransom, I think was something they added in. But it is a nice little arc for her to end up on Starbase 80. So that is the one thing that makes me think maybe that was always the plan, because it's just so perfect for her, because
Yeah.
she was bothered by that in the previous episode. Like it kept eating away at her, that and so to have her actually end on Starbase 80 actually is a great arc for her. So that's part of me thinks maybe that was what they were always planning. But if they were always planning it, maybe they weren't planning on Ransom being the captain, and maybe she was just there temporarily, or so. I don't
I
know.
don't know. You could be right. It is a perfect ending, but I still think that's not what they were planning.
Yeah,
Because that does seem like an end of the show thing, especially with Mariner and Freeman saying goodbye. And I think it would, if they like undid it a couple episodes later, that would like undermine the whole thing. So
well, Lower Decks has done that before.
no, but worse. I think it would be worse than
It would be worse. Yeah.
yeah. In fact, I forgot to mention with the thing they did with Tindy, how they resolved her storyline, undid it in 2 episodes. I was so thankful for that. I was like, thank God, thank you, because
Yeah.
I hated that whole winter of this. What's the mistress of the winter solstice? Yeah, like that whole.
Not winter solstice, winter of the no, mistress of the winter.
I thought it was.
No,
it's
it's
not
not
really
solstice. It's
solstice.
not solstice.
I thought it was.
Oh, all right. I'm gonna Google this because I just saw this the other day. All right, hold on. Mistress of the. Okay, Tindy, mistress of the winter.
Oh, constellation. Norman's saying it in the chat. Mistress of the winter constellation.
The winter constellation. Yeah, I knew it wasn't solstice.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I thought. But whatever. Like, I was never a fan of that storyline, so I was really happy that they just.
Yeah, no, I'm glad that they did, but it also made me feel like that it was like they should have never done it. Like it was just a waste of our time.
I do. Yeah, I do feel that.
They could have continued. We talked about this already, but like the effects of Rutherford in some way, even if that
yes
with Tindy was done
100%. Yeah, undo that, but still follow up with the consequences of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, the worst thing I think was what they did with Captain Freeman getting arrested. It's a huge cliffhanger. And like, oh yeah, it happened off screen and blah blah. It's resolved. It's like,
Yeah, that was the worst one. Yeah.
but so yeah, they could do, but I don't think they did. I really think that wasn't their plan.
Yeah, no, I came away thinking that that was added. I even said that in my review that I think that was added on. But at the same time, it is kind of the perfect. If that wasn't originally planned, that they did happen to land into a really perfect ending for Freeman.
Yeah, I think that like when they knew the show was ending and they had to come up with the ending, I was like, oh, wouldn't it be perfect if Freeman actually went to Starbase?
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, in the chat, Jake came in 99 saying the Guardian of Forever established that not being in your own timeline and universe is bad. Thanks, Discovery. Well, that's not exactly what they said. They and I think it wasn't Kovic who originally said this. Pointed this out. They said that because they traveled so far in the future, that the universe has drifted further and further apart, and so that's why it was detrimental or something like that. So it wasn't just being in a different universe for a long time; it was the fact that she both time traveled a ridiculous amount of time in the future and was from another universe, which I still don't think is the best thing ever. But it wouldn't apply to like to Paula and Gershir and all these people here.
Yeah, but also that it was the Mirror Universe specifically because
yes,
that our universe and the Mirror Universe had drifted apart.
Yeah.
So
it doesn't necessarily apply to other universes.
Yeah, exactly.
So it wouldn't apply to this case, but I do agree that I'm not a big fan of that, though.
Yeah.
But not that big of a deal. Yeah, so I mean, I guess we already talked about the ending with the provisional first officers. Though that was kind of a perfect ending for the show. Oh God damn! I gotta mention my favorite joke when I don't know anyone else really loved this joke as much as I did when Ransom was like, "Oh, Rutherford, a little birdie told me you fixed the platypus." It's like, was it Dr. Michelot? Yes, it was.
No, I did like that. Yeah, that was funny. That was good.
But yeah, I thought they were because they like gave Talon and Tindy and Boimler and Mariner a promotion. I thought they were going to give Rutherford one too, but they were just like congratulating him on something he did. So
yeah, I thought so too. I thought they were going to promote him too. Yeah, at least be like second in command of the engineering or something. Like, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, Jake came in saying T'Pol is at 200 years in the past, though. Yeah, but not 1,000 years.
Not 1,000 years and not in the Mirror Universe.
Not the Mirror Universe, yeah.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so, all right, so, yeah, the question I had about the ending, though, is I know, like, Tyler kind of jumped the gun, was asking, comparing it to other finales, but you don't have to compare it to other finales if you don't want, but how do you think, like, do you think this was a, like, good series finale for Lower Decks? Like, this is
I think it's probably the best. Well, again, I don't know where Discovery fits in. I'd have to rewatch the episode. I don't remember. But it is the best, or at least tied for the best, as far as episodes that didn't know they were being canceled when they started writing the season, and then had to come up with a finale. And I think that, I mean, you know, These Are the Voyages is the other one, so it's kind of a low bar to clear, but.
Well, These Are the Voyages, they wrote the whole episode knowing they were being canceled.
Yeah, but they didn't know, like...
They weren't building up to it.
They weren't building up to it. Because
but what I'm saying is still different than this and Discovery, because this, they had already started.
Yeah. But I mean, it was different back then because you didn't do the whole season at once.
Yeah.
Like you did each episode, like they would write some episodes, film some episodes, and then later do some more. So it
Yeah.
wasn't like whereas now it's like they do the whole season all in one sitting and then release it. Whereas that's not how that used to be done in the 90s and 2000s. So it's a little different. It's hard to really compare, but it was like they started the season not expecting it to be the end, and then all of a sudden we have to write a finale. So it's comparable to me, even if it isn't exactly the same because
Oh yeah, sure, no,
it's in a
definitely.
different era where things were.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's definitely comparable. Yeah, but
Yeah,
there's. I just wanted to point out that slight
yeah,
difference.
but I think that it does as good of a job as it can do. I but with that said, like I mean, I think they would have had a better finale if they had been able to plan for it in advance. And then, I don't know, maybe just I think that overall Discovery did a better job of wrapping up the show without knowing it was a season, the final season, because as I was reviewing Discovery season 5 all throughout, I was like, "Are we sure they didn't know this was the because it really seems like they're wrapping things up very nicely and tying things together." And like, I think so. I think Discovery. I don't remember the finale specifically, but I think the season overall did a much better job of wrapping up the series without knowing that they were wrapping up the series. Whereas this one, I think, would have been better if they knew and they were able to prepare for it. I think they could have done a better finale. So under the circumstances, I think they did the best job they could. But I also was looking at this as just the season finale. Like, let's pretend it wasn't a series finale. And to me, it was one of the better ones, if not the best one. I'd have to go back and watch the other ones again because all of them do this tie-in with all the little things in the season. Like, at least going back to season 3 and 4, they would like pop into these things from previous in the season. And I think this one did the best job at doing that. Um, so just purely as a season finale, this might be one of the best ones, if not the best one. If it wasn't the series finale, but now we have to like look at it as a series finale as well.
Yeah.
So just as a season finale, I think is probably one of the best of Lower Decks, personally. I'd have to rewatch the old ones to really say for sure. But the series finale, they did the best they could. I think it was. I think it was the one thing they do better than Discovery is that it was whatever they added on to it was seamless. Like it just fit right in. Like it doesn't to the point where you and I were like, well, maybe I was like, well, maybe they didn't add it on because it was so seamless. Whereas
Yes.
Discovery was like, here's where we stop.
Yes.
And here's the thing we added on to it.
Yeah.
Which I didn't mind. I liked that ending. I kind of enjoyed that ending. But I did think that they do a better job here of just making it seamlessly fit into the episode. That said, if they had been told, like they were allowed to do a season 6, but were told before they start writing season 6, this is your final season, I think they would have come up with a better series finale because they would have been able to plan for it. So, but I think they did the best they could under the circumstances.
Yeah, so I had time to think about this. Well, first of all, with the season finales, I'll agree that I think they did a better job of tying, like, referencing all the season and tying it together. But I think as just an episode itself, I'm not sure. I wouldn't really say that. I couldn't say without going back and watching them which is better or worse. I would say it's on par. I would say all the season finales are pretty much on par with each other.
Yeah.
And it did have that season finale feeling to it. I do think that what they added at the end definitely made it better. So it might be better just for the sake of those extra scenes at the end. And as far as the comparing it to all the other series finales, okay, so in the chat, Norman was saying Prodigy is the best for modern Trek so far, in my opinion. I actually didn't include the Prodigy as a series finale because we still don't know if because Netflix could still renew it. Like we still don't know for sure.
as far as we know, it hasn't had a series finale yet. We don't know
Yeah,
that, so you can't really.
and they wrote it in a way that, well, if the show never comes back, then okay, this can serve as a farewell. But they were specifically thinking this is we're going to plan for a season 3.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. Even if it is canceled, I don't know if I would still compare it to the other ones. But anyway, but leaving Prodigy aside, for me, I would say Lower Decks is the third best of the franchise because All Good Things and What You Leave Behind, and then I think this episode is slightly better than Discovery one. I think they're on par with each other. I would just give this one the slight edge, and the rest of the series finales totally fucking suck or not that good. So I don't. So that's why it's easily number 3 for me. That's again not including Prodigy.
Yeah.
But because and the reason why I'd give this a slight edge over Discovery, even though I agree with your season as a whole, Discovery felt more like a final season than this season did. But I think, and it's kind of what you touched on, the fact that final scene like slotted in so perfectly into the episode, where the one Discovery, I still liked it. Like I still think it's a great finale, but it was so obvious, and it was so obvious that they couldn't tie up the whole Calypso thing, so they just threw in a thing where this that scene where, and as much as I do like those final scenes of Discovery, but I think this one is better because I know this is typical for Lower Decks, but I feel like that monologue of Mariner was the best the show ever done. That and it summed up the show like perfectly. Like it had me in tears, and like as we're mentioning, like all the cameos, like Livick and the Twaining and that dude who ascended, like calling back all the stuff from the shows at the same time, but and having her give like the speech that summarizes the show, and then saying she set her bed on fire. I think it was like the perfect way, like during that joke, and to me it was like a beautiful way to end the show. So that's why to give it like a slight edge over Discovery.
Yeah, that's true. I do think that was a beautiful way to end the show. But again, I think I need to rewatch the Discovery finale. But yeah, I that is true. I was in tears when she was doing that. That was a really beautiful way to kind of tie everything up. That was definitely added. I mean, there's no doubt that was.
Yeah, oh yeah, 100%.
100%.
But yeah, but I think the difference, if I think it was Jesse Ginger or someone said, but the difference between Discovery and Lower Decks is that in Discovery they had already filmed. Like they were wrapping up, they were editing, and they were told you're being canceled, so they had to go back, film some more, add it on. You could tell it feels tacked on. Whereas this, I believe they were in the midst of working on it, so they still had time to. Oh yeah, we get to rework it.
Yeah.
So they had like a little bit more time to play with it. But yeah, and of course both of them blow Enterprise out of the water.
Yeah, the thing that they did with Calypso reminded me of some of the things they did on Lost, like where they just like
true, yes,
came up with some weak ass explanation for the whispers. Like, oh, that's what the whispers are. It's all the dead people. I'm like, no, that's not. No, it's not. That's not what it was. You just wanted to like try to give an answer, so you just like made something up, and that's what the Calypso thing felt like too.
But you know what frustrated me about that and Lost in particular is that Damon Lindelof would be like, well, see, all the people who wanted answers, this is what it'd be like. It would be unsatisfying. It's like, no, we didn't just want you to blurt out answers like that. We wanted it to be interesting storylines that was integrated into the fucking show. But anyway, sorry. that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you don't actually know what the answer is, then you shouldn't give one. Because like it's better, I would rather not know than say, oh shit, we don't know what the answer is. Let's make something up. Like I would rather them. And
well, no one can convince me otherwise. Especially after rewatching Lost, I'm convinced that they did not know.
No, they didn't. They used to say all the time, Damon Lindelof and Carl McHughes, oh yeah, no, we know. We've known since the
Totally.
beginning.
I think they had a very, very, very extremely vague idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
I
all
think
the specific things, they would just drop it because it looked cool. They had no idea what it.
yeah. And then when it comes to the Calypso, God, do you remember what I heard something about what it originally was supposed to be, and now I forget what it was. But it wasn't that. It wasn't what they did. It
Yeah,
was something.
well, the only thing I heard is that they were planning to do a season 6. Was supposed to wrap up the Calypsos, so they're supposed to take place like not another 1,000 years, but like now.
No, I had heard something about.
Oh no! When they made the short originally, yes.
When
Now
they
that
made
I'm
the
thinking
short
about
originally, it was
it,
supposed to
yes,
be something another storyline that they ended up going in a different
yeah,
direction.
absolutely.
So it's too late to do that now, and I can't remember what it was, but it was something.
Yeah,
I
it
think.
was.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
what
ship had
was it?
sailed on it. Like they couldn't do what they were originally going to do because they already took the show in a different direction.
Yeah, I think they weren't going to jump 1,000 years in the future at the end of season 2. I think that's part of it.
I don't remember. I don't remember now.
And that, yeah, and so or something like this. No, the ship was going to jump by itself, and the other people, and the ship. Oh God, I can't remember. No, I can't remember what the hell it was. But it would have been different than what happened in season 3. When they did season 3, that changed the course.
Yeah, that changed from
Yeah.
what they were originally thinking when they did Calypso.
Yeah.
So I think at that point, then you probably just don't need to address it at all. But
yeah, no. Norman in the chat sums it up perfectly. They had concepts of an idea.
oh yeah, don't remind me. Don't make me think about politics, Norman.
Yeah, god damn it. They're making me. I just want to ignore our pending doom for the moment. Just talk about great Star Trek. Let's see. Was there anything else? No, that's pretty much everything I wanted to cover. Unless there's I know what I forgot. If you just because we kind of did mention, but I don't know if you want to definitively mention what your favorite episode this season was, because for me it was Fully Dilated. Like the more I thought about it, I gave it a 9 originally. The more I think about it, the more I'm like, no, I should actually give that a 10. Because that was my favorite episode. And that was an episode that like actually grew on me, like the more I sat with it. The more it's like it's perfect. It has the funny. It's hilarious with the Mariner joking about the inner light and having her little flute, and it was a great character story. It's got a great use of data. Like it's like everything I want out of a Lower Decks episode.
Yeah, I mean, I could come to that conclusion eventually too, because when I went back and rewatched all of the episodes and give rewatch ratings, and a lot of them changed. And like I gave that Rutherford episode Reflections a higher rating than I had originally given it. So if I were like wait till next year and go back and watch this season again, then that might happen. Where I would say that right now, that one, episode 9, and the finale are very all close together. I ended up giving the finale a 9.5, so technically that would be considered my favorite, but I also don't know that I can definitively say that was my favorite over those other two. So I don't know. You're really convincing you're a convincing argument for episode 7, but so I could end up coming to that conclusion too. But right now I would say those 3 are kind of very close, I would say.
Norman is saying 7 and 9 were my favorites, with an honorable mention to my story and the Farms episode. So 7 of 9?
No, that's what I thought when I read that. Yeah. 7 of 9 was 7 of 9.
See, and again, this might be a bit too early. Not that I didn't like episode 9. I loved it. Who doesn't love Gashir and then T'Pol? And it was great. But it's almost leading for it's peaking in like it might get into that top 10 overrated thing. I can foresee this being a completely overrated episode. I liked it, but people are going too crazy over it, in my opinion. They're too like, hey, he's from the other movie, and instead of just judging it on its own merits.
Yeah. I don't know. I probably have to think about it some more. Do you want to say what your least favorite episode is?
That one I can't really decide. I'm not sure about that. So if you are, you can go
Well,
ahead.
I mean, just going off of my ratings, my second least favorite would be Upper Decks. And I would still say it shouldn't exist. But I still enjoyed it. And then my least favorite episode was that episode 2, because I really did not like the gag where Tindy and her sister just can't fucking talk to each other, like fucking communicate.
Oh yeah, the sitcom trope.
Yeah, the sitcom trope where she's like, "Oh, you gotta sit down and lay down." Like I don't know. Other people thought it was funny. I definitely heard a lot of people get. I don't remember what you said about it, but I know a lot of people.
No, I said the same thing.
So I didn't like it, and I can't remember what the B plot was in that episode, but I think
that's what I was trying to remember. Like,
I guess it was forgettable enough that it didn't make an impression.
Oh, okay. So this synopsis is Boimler and Mariner race to stop capitalists.
Oh yeah, no, I thought that was just kind of a nothing.
Yeah, that was a nothing burger. Yeah. Okay, episode 2. You convinced me on episode 2.
Yeah,
because I was kind of thinking either that or the Starbase 80 one, because that had some sitcom tropes in it that annoyed me too. But I think this one was worse.
Yeah.
Because Starbase 80 did have some funny moments.
So Starbase 80 also I liked how they made it so that Starbase 80 actually isn't that bad, even though that's a retcon. That's not originally what Starbase 80 was.
I don't mind that as a retcon. It was just the problem I had with it. It was so obvious that's what they were going to do.
Yeah, no, I don't mind that it was a retcon either. And it was so obvious that was what they were going to do. Yeah, I agree with that, but I wouldn't call it my least favorite. I don't think.
Because the jokes, the zombie jokes and whatever. Yeah, but the aspect of it, I hated the whole engineer being like, you knew that was the engineer as soon as you saw it. So
yeah.
And it kind of annoyed me how Mariner was constantly like, oh, it's the curse or whatever. I mean, you knew it wasn't them.
Yeah. No, I didn't love that. Wasn't my favorite episode, but I still wouldn't put it as my least favorite.
I think that might have been my second least favorite.
Yeah.
But it's funny because I wouldn't call it Upper Decks my least favorite or second least favorite, but I agree it shouldn't exist. It was still a funny episode. It's just, not what we needed.
Yeah, the ransom plot in that episode just really, really bothered me.
Yes, no, I totally.
It's irresponsible of him. Like, they could have died, but he was pretending to sleep. Like, what kind of fucking responsible first officer are you? And then he gets murdered for captain, like putting his crew in danger by pretending to sleep.
Yeah, no, that storyline pissed me off, but the rest of the episode was actually
good. Yeah, and I did like I always call them the clickers, but I don't think that's exactly what they were called.
Yeah, I that's what I call them too. So
I think it was click something else, but I don't know. The clickets.
Something like that, yeah. I didn't think they were the best either. Like, that reveal was like, whatever. But
I actually thought it was really funny that they were defeated by compliments, because it reminded me of like the Knights to say "neat" from "neat," and then they were like, what was it? Shrubbery. No, not shrubbery. There was a. God, I gotta rewatch that movie. I don't remember. Not sure. There was a word. Oh, it. Anytime the character said "it," the knights may need to say "knee," going.
Like, I didn't remember that.
Like, they were just casually having a conversation and saying the word "it," Not even noticing that the Knights of St. were going. "Ah, ah!"
Now, I didn't like the compliments thing. I thought that was
Yeah.
a bit silly.
No, I liked it.
But I love the Billups thing was I love how over the top they got with
Yeah.
like the engineering, like eating and whatnot,
Yeah.
and that the Ensign Barnes evolving, devolving at the same time, and then her using her tuba to like shoot back against them or whatever. Yeah. So yeah. So I
No,
guess.
it just gets. I mean, I changed my rating. I lowered it a whole point after I watched the whole season because
Oh right.
in context,
Yeah.
it shouldn't have existed. But I still gave it a 7 out of 10, so it's still fun.
True. Yeah, and I don't think that the Shades of Green episode was terrible either. Like I wouldn't call it one of the worst episodes of the show.
I gave it a 6, which makes this season the only season where I didn't give anything lower than a 6. But I also did not give it 10. I know you gave the finale a 10. I gave it a 9.5. So I did not.
And I gave episode a 7 and a 10 in retrospect.
Which I might do someday. I don't know. Yeah. I can also. But as of now, I didn't give any 10s out. But I also didn't give anything below a 6. Which is every season at least one stinker. And this one,
I agree. I agree this season didn't have any stinkers, but it also had less great episodes.
Yeah, exactly.
I totally agree with that.
Jesse Ginger one time, like recently, mentioned offhand that like season 3 was her least favorite season, and I was like, "What?" But they just had good episode after good episode after good. Like they were crushing it for a while, and then they had the terrible episode. But then the rest of it was just. And then I remember that episode 9 with the Mariner and the reporter and all that wasn't good, but
oh yeah, it had that trope, the reporter trope.
Yeah. And I still like protest the whole existence of reporters.
Yes, but I tolerate them more in Lower Decks than in Picard.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyways, digress.
But season 3, would you still say that's your favorite season?
Yeah. I have it ranked slightly above season 4, but it is because I gave them both 9s out of 10, but I still think season 3 is probably my favorite.
Yeah, I would have to rewatch it. It's either season 2, 3, or 4. I think it's probably
season 2. When I did my rewatch, had some stinkers in it, and especially toward the beginning of the season.
I remember it got really good at the end.
Yeah, it got good at the end. Season 2 was when I did my rewatch. I thought season 1 like pretty much flat out sucked until about episode 7. It started getting better, and episode 8 was better. Then episode 9 was amazing, and episode 10 was pretty good. But before that, like the first half of the season, I know you like that episode 4 with the Ascension thing better than I did, but so you might not agree. But for me, like the first half of season 1, like flat out sucked, and then. Season 2 wasn't as bad as that, and then they had more good episodes, so it was a step up over season 1, but season 3 was even better. So to me, season 3 was a clear step up over season 2.
Yeah, I think I might have a higher opinion of season 2 and 4 than you do. Maybe. Yeah, I'd have to go back and watch it.
Norman agrees with me.
Okay, well, there we go. All right, so we'll go ahead and end the discussion there then. Lower Decks, a great show that shouldn't have ended, and Paramount fucking sucks. We're ending it. There was a meme as like it was like the finale of season 4 when Mariner were like, "This guy sucks," and the meme had like Paramount pictures over the guy's head, so she's pointing at Paramount.
Yeah. I didn't see that meme, but that's funny.
Yeah. Yes, Norman Moist Vessel. I love that episode. I think that's one of my favorites of the show. Yeah, it's not because of the Ascension storyline. It's because of the main storyline. But I also
that episode sucked. Like not as bad as episode 2 or episode 5 of season 1. episode 5, I ended up putting in my.
Was that the Fletcher one? Because I hated that one.
No, episode 5 was the Cupid's errant arrow.
Oh, good. No, that one's worse. Yeah, I hate that one. Oh
I
my
put
God.
it in my top 5 least favorite of Modern Trek because because Mariner like just is an asshole to Boimler,
Yeah.
like a complete asshole, and and it's just the whole thing is like, oh, Boimler couldn't possibly have a girlfriend that likes him, who's pretty, and like.
The funny thing about that is that season 3 contradicted that because it had all these hot women hitting on him and throwing themselves at him, and he was oblivious and didn't notice.
But regardless of whether that's true, the fact that Mariner would like say that and just be so convinced that she has to be an alien or something like that was fucked up. And then it was this boy
like horrible, and then they vindicated her. Like that's what really pissed me off.
Yeah, no, that's my least favorite episode.
Yeah, no, you're right, actually.
Of season 1, and then
no, but that's why I didn't even consider season 1 as a possibility.
Yeah,
favorite season.
Yeah.
But season 2, I don't know, probably not. I'm leaning towards 3, maybe 4. I'd have to go back and watch it.
Yeah, I don't know. Season 3 has that stretch where they have. I forget what episode 4 was, but episode 5 was Reflections. Episode 6 was the Hear All, Trust Nothing, and then they had the shitty episode. But then they had Crisis Point 2 was another excellent episode.
Oh, you know what? Episode 4 was an episode I hated, which you probably didn't mind. So,
what was episode 4?
It was the Room for Growth. Because the one where they like go on this quest to try to outdo Beta Shift so they can get their own spare room or some bullshit like that.
Yeah, I didn't love that episode, but I didn't hate it.
Yeah, because I hate the whole hallway thing, so that's
that's right.
That's a pet peeve of mine.
You have an issue with the hallway,
but it did have that funny scene where Boimler is tripping, though.
Yeah.
But anyway, my plan, and I don't know because this is years from now, so who knows if I'll actually follow through with this plan. But my plan is, as I go through every Star Trek show, once I cover everything up to Enterprise, is to go and rewatch Modern Trek and then do them one episode at a time and really pay attention and feel. So it'll be several years after I've seen it, and so go back and revisit it and see how I feel, because I'm sure, especially Discovery, that I'm going to feel totally different in retrospect, knowing where everything ended up.
Yeah, well, I've already done that for Lower Decks up through season 3. I didn't do season 4 yet.
Yeah, I'm still. That's why I'm not certain yet, because I have to wait until I actually go back and watch it again. All right. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, anyways, I think it's time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Just what I was going to say. So, time to wrap it up. So, thanks everyone for joining. Norman, Aaron, and my cursor is not working, and J came in 99, and everyone else who happened in. Thanks so much for joining, and everyone watching the archives. Thanks so much for joining, and of course, thank you, Alyssa, so very much. You actually do have a lot going on at the end of the year, so if you want to give a shout out to what you're up to.
Yeah, I am going to be doing my end of the year videos. I don't know when yet. Subscribe to my Facebook page. Follow me on Facebook, and I'll give an announcement when I know. But I will be doing an awards video, and then I'll be doing my top 10 sometime before the end of the year, or maybe right after the start of the next year, or something. I'll just follow me on Facebook for exact dates. But that is coming up. And then that's probably it. And I've got my Lower Decks review up. You can watch that right now.
Cool. And if you're finding me for the first time, my name is Mark, Channels Enchantment of Eternity. Next Thursday, I'll be releasing my overall review of Season 5 of Lower Decks. In the meantime, you can check out my channel for mini reviews covering Next Generation Deep Space Nine, one episode at a time. If you want to watch those reviews, if you'd rather listen to them rather than watch them on YouTube, I am finally up to date on my podcast, so you can download the newest episodes of my, while just doing the retro reviews of TNG DS9. You can catch them on wherever you get your podcast from: Spotify, Amazon Music. I'm not on Apple yet because that was dead to new forms, but other stuff like that. I have all of my Star Trek episode reviews, that is, original series up to, TNG, DS9, all of that's there, and anything new coming out will be there as well. And also, got only 3 episodes left in my top 25 episodes of Star Trek, so we'll be counting them down at the start of the new year. So, yeah, be sure to check us out for that, and fun's going. Thanks for hanging out with us, and we will see you next time. And until next time, remember, engage the core.